John Fedro with mobilehomeinvesting.net. This video is being recorded at the end of October and is going to be talking about what the next 2 months, November, December, maybe January, is going to be looking like, might be looking like, based on what I've been seeing these past few months and sort of where things are going. By the way, if it looks like I've been crying, I haven't, at least not today. I've been using some eye drops anyway, so that's what that is. Let's talk about what some of the changes are. I'd like to divide this video into a couple different sections. Buying mobile homes, mostly in parks. We're going to touch on some about on private land, but buying mobile homes, selling mobile homes, repairing them, and then management. So I want to talk about those four things and sort of what the coronavirus, what the end of the year in 2020 is probably going to look like for you. Should you run away? Should you run towards something? Let's talk about all that in this video. Let's talk about these changes in no particular order. I'm going to keep adding to them as we go through this video. The first one is that things are getting darker a lot sooner. That's not a surprise. We all knew that was coming, and with daylight savings time, that's even going to be more amplified. Things are going to get darker sooner. So we want to do our daytime activities. If you get out of work, you might be going to an appointment. You might not be able to see the outside of the home. You might not be able to drive through a park or drive through an area looking for sale signs without having a flashlight in somebody's window, which we don't want to do. We may have to get up sooner in the middle, in the morning, do things more during the middle of the day if possible, utilize the weekends more if possible. So things get darker sooner, obviously. The school slowdown, I've mentioned this in a previous video, about 30% of the buyers and sellers, when school starts in normal years, things slow down. That same slowdown happened 30% or so of the buyers and sellers. If they don't have to move, if they don't have to buy or sell, they just don't want to. They're focused on school, they're focused on the holidays, especially the holidays coming up. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, things are going to virtually come to a crawl those weeks. So sellers, buyers, if you're holding a mobile, well, mostly if you're a seller, if you're holding a mobile home and you're trying to sell it, the holiday weeks are virtually going to come to a slowdown for you. So you kind of lose those weeks. Maybe, as an investor and then also as just a regular homeowner that's trying to sell their mobile home. Around the country, there will be frozen ground in various places. If I'm talking about you, if the ground is frozen, that means it's cold outside. That means it might be less appealing to go outside to advertise, to market. If we have signs in the ground, both you're buying or you're selling homes, you may have to drill holes in the ground to get your sign in the ground or put it up on wooden telephone poles. There's pros and cons in most areas around the country. Those signs are frowned upon. Or worse, but that's for a separate video. But there has been less motivated homeowners. There's going to be sellers out there that are other investors. There's certainly going to be motivated homeowners, but there's less of them right now. And I think a big part of it, I more than think, but I think that the big part of it is that there's an eviction pause right now around the country. You can still evict someone if they're breaking the lease, if they're breaking the law, but not if they can't pay or if they're not paying. There's certain restrictions where people can't evict, mobile home parks can't evict. And one of the reasons that made a motivated homeowner motivated, normally with a mobile home in a park, a mobile home on land, is that they can't pay. They can't pay the underlying debt, they can't pay the mortgage, they can't pay the lot rent. And if the lot rent doesn't get paid, that owner is going to be evicted. Well, evictions are paused. Some homeowners know, okay, well, there may be a stimulus coming, I may be getting bailed out, I may have money to work and kind of kick the can down the road. So I know around the country, managers, I'm not going to say every manager because that's ridiculous, but a lot of managers around the country are having, was covered on a previous video, are having are having more and more and more people get behind on payments. Come January 1st, when the evictions can be processed, are they going to be processed? Let's actually go to a map real quick. In southern states, when evictions pick up, in southern states where it's warmer, judges may allow for evictions to go through. Obviously, you haven't paid in like 1, 2, 3, 4 months, you gotta leave, you haven't paid. In the more colder states where there's snow on the ground, there's ice, a judge will have a tougher time throwing a family out and evicting a family, even if they haven't paid. So my thought is, even once January 1st rolls around, and if people can do evictions, how many of those evictions are going to go through? How many are going to have to be pushed back until February or March or April or when things warm up a bit? So Across the country, the evictions may change when January 1st starts, and we can do more evictions. Also, there are a few more buyers compared to well, I'll say just compared to maybe last year at this time, because single family home prices are going up. That is bleeding and pushing more people into kind of mobile homes, and they've never maybe even lived in a mobile home. I'm seeing a slight uptick in people that have never lived in a mobile home now are looking towards mobile homes, but a very, very small uptick in that. Also around the country, with regards to buying our senior citizen mobile home parks, this year is going to be a little different because in the southern states, California, Arizona, New Mexico, but there's also age-restricted parks, in almost every state. But you do have northerners coming down to the southern states. You usually have a lot of Canadians coming down and crossing the border and coming into the southern states. They want to they want to get away from the cold. That's difficult this year crossing the border with regards to COVID. So you're not going to have Canadians coming down this year. That means fewer buyers for the 55 people that are there that want to sell, that need to sell, that aren't even living around there anymore. And so you're going to have fewer Canadians. You may have you may have more people in the northern states come down to the south because they're tired of being cooped up, especially if they can't go out anywhere. They're social distancing all the time. They may want to come down to a warmer state. They still have to social distance, but they can at least be a little bit warmer. So I do think that overall, though, there's going to be definitely a net decrease in the amount of senior buyers, senior activity coming from the north to the south this year in 2020. So if you are looking at senior mobile home parks, whether you're a senior or not, you can be investing in senior mobile home parks. There's pros and cons. We talk about that on a separate video that I will link into the description. I got asked the other day, do we stop investing? Now that it is the winter time, what's the best sort of course of action? Do we stop investing? Very valid question. Do we pause things and wait? Obviously, depending on if you're from the northern states, southern states, what's the temperature, what's the climate, what's the just overall atmosphere, supply and demand, or do we wait until spring? Again, sort of just questions that one would normally ask. What's the most prudent, cautious things to do? My opinion is to be very open and proactive and excited to go to properties, to look at homes, to make offers, to understand sellers, to get to know people, to build a reputation, but be very conservative in making your offers. So still make offers, absolutely. If you're going to a mobile home, 2 to 3 purchase offers to every mobile home you go to, but make them more conservatively because there will be more days on the market. If you're planning on selling this for cash, you may be holding an extra 60 days through the coldest months. Maybe not. I would rather you account for that extra holding time, which an extra 30 or 60 days is a long time. So do buy more conservatively, knowing that you're going to have more holding costs. You may even have to hold this until next March or April when tax time starts. If you're selling for cash, potentially, what's the population? What are the repairs needed? How many bedrooms is this home? What else is for sale locally, etc. If you're selling on payments and it's a really good price, a really nice home, it could be the dead of winter time, and you'll still sell that most likely on payments. Again, things have to be legal, and the numbers have to make sense and be attractive. The home house should be attractive as well. Build a reputation. Don't just go hibernate for the next 3 months, 4 months. Definitely continue to build a reputation with people in this business. People that we deal with most days, people that we deal with some days, people that, I think that makes sense about building a reputation. Owners will need your help soon, like I mentioned before, that eviction ban, and there's plenty of deals still happening right now, but that eviction ban, when it does happen, those are the people that they're fighting things and they want to stay where they are, but they can, or they're just they're kicking the can down the road. There's still sellers right now. I say less motivated homeowners before. There's plenty of homeowners still motivated, but they do need to sell quick. The stuff that you may be seeing online is stuff that's more of a retail priced. And I think you probably know that, but we want to be focused on things that are more off market. So the things that you're seeing online, they're more expensive. They've been picked over a bunch of times. And now going into the winter months, same as always. We have to act quick. We have to make a number of offers. We have to follow up. So buying mobile homes late in 2020, it's still Two thumbs up. I mean, there's the same characters involved, the buyers, the sellers. Let's now talk about rehabbing a home. We're buying a mobile home. Now we're going to rehab it. Just because it's later in the year and the temperatures get colder, we still have to rehab homes. Usually not after we sell them. The person buying the home, paying on payments, they're responsible for their own repairs. But as you have a mobile home vacant, you will need to be doing repairs. Usually, even if you're selling it as a handyman special, we usually want to make some type of repair. So because it's colder, much colder, sometimes when the wind picks up especially, you may have a tougher time finding new handymen. You might have a tougher time getting your handyman out to get to your jobs to do the work during the middle of the day when it's warmer. They don't want to work when it's too cold, or you may have to pay more. Water freezes as well, pipes break, which brings up the question, do you winterize the home? Do you turn off all of the water while it's vacant? And if that's the case, do you need water to make repairs? Do you need water? I mean, people that are in the home doing work, they may need to use the restroom, they may need to get water. Do you have the electricity on while people are doing repairs to keep the electricity on in the heat tape? To keep the electricity on in the furnace, if it's an electric furnace. Also, does the furnace work? When you're selling a home in the southern tip of Florida, where in the winter it's 70 or 80 degrees, versus the northern part of the Dakotas where it's in the negative degrees, you need working furnaces. Around the country, there are things that, okay, in these areas you don't necessarily need an AC, but in these areas you always need a furnace. Be aware, if the furnaces don't work, if power is not on, gas isn't on, a new furnace to get that is going to be over $1,000. At least figure on over $1,000 to replace a furnace. And that's just the furnace. That's not necessarily including all the duct work. So a broken furnace is absolutely a needed thing. In certain states, it's not needed, but in other states, it's very much needed, and that is a costly fix. So make sure you know what you're buying. Wood prices also have gone up since the pandemic. Wood mills are shutting down more, and until the pandemic kind of rolls through. I've heard even in 2021, there should be this kind of lumber shortage. So expect to pay higher prices when it comes to wood type of products. But rehabbing still has to be done. Again, it may take a little bit longer, so extra days on the market. Your repair time in the middle of summer may only be 2 weeks, but it might be a full month in the winter because things are slower. It's tougher to get your handy people out there. Before we directly talk about selling mobile homes in late 2020, I want to talk about two things that I didn't touch on yet that kind of span both buying and selling. When we're dealing with mobile homes inside of parks, we deal with park managers, that's PM, and they're opening slowly. Park manager offices used to be completely locked down. Now they're opening slowly across the country. Park manager offices are opening up. Corporate offices, small mom and pop offices. You can obviously go into the park and still call them up. They're usually not always there by phone by any means. But you can still call them up typically and leave a message. Or if their message is full, you can try to keep calling them back. Government offices, they're still slow. You may have to make an appointment with the government office, Department of Transportation, DMV, BMV, Secretary of State's office, the licensing department, where you transfer mobile home titles in your state. It is still most likely is slow, but it definitely is picking up speed. We are past any kind of I think when the coronavirus first hit, there was this wave of sort of, a lot of people weren't working, government offices were shut down, and this backlog of forms and paperwork and transfers and titles and problems. And now, for the most part, it seems like government offices have caught up a big part of that. And so now the speed is probably half to where it was before. So I'd say it's about half better than the slowest that it was. So that's picking up speed. Now, when we're selling mobile homes in 2020, I hear, John, should I be afraid of renting or selling for payments at the end of 2020 because of that eviction pause? And in my opinion, there's other reasons to be afraid of renting and selling on payments. The laws, the legality, making sure you're doing things right, people taking advantage of you in general. But make sure, in my opinion, always act like there's an eviction pause on. You should not want to go to court. You should not, no one really wants to, but you should never want to go there and try to do everything you can to get a tenant buyer, or that's usually when we would go to court, as if we have a buyer in the home or a renter, they haven't paid us or they're causing some other problems. Again, if they break the lease for anything else, you can certainly evict people even now, October, November, December, but it's with payments that you cannot. And you can in some cases, but mostly you can't. I'm going to come back to screening tenant buyers or renters here in just a minute, but we do still show property. I still show properties one at a time. Social distancing is still recommended, so that's what I'm doing. Whether you want to do that or not, I'm not doing open houses anymore. At least for right now, people can kind of wait in their car. They can walk through the home with their family, then they can leave. Then the next person can come in and go out. I'm not disinfecting anything, but I do keep the windows open when at all possible. So I am still showing homes one at a time. I asked before, what do we do? Do we have a home with the power off, the power on? You can do it either way. Somebody will probably buy that home depending on the price and the terms and how well you're advertising it and a lot of other factors. But I usually do keep the power on. When I renterize the home, when I'm showing the home, I'm selling it, I'm showing it, I do want heat tape to be installed and working properly, heat tape on the pipes. I do want to keep the inside of the mobile home around 60 degrees so things aren't freezing. And I do want to close the toilet and tape the toilet shut. That's in whatever state that you're in, just because when people are walking through your homes, they don't need to use the toilet, in my opinion. So just tape that shut. They don't have to use the toilet. Going back to pre-screening, I get a question, and I'll try not to be on this soapbox for too long, but when it comes to, let me go back and say, I get a question semi-regularly that's to the effect of, John, what do I do when somebody won't pay? Which I think is a big thought on people's minds of, okay, I'm selling a home on payments. If people don't pay, I'm going to be stuck when I can't get these folks out of my home. And so if you're in that situation and you got to a situation where somebody inside of your home isn't paying, they're not responding to you, they're not talking to you, they're not making any payments or trying to at all, you put that person in your home. We need to pre-screen the people that we're putting into our properties. When you're selling something on payments or you're renting a decent quality home, there's a lot of folks that want to rent or buy something from you on payments. And I have to say, a lot of those people are going to be cool people you might want to be one-on-one friendly with, but you would not want to get into a 5 or 10 year relationship with many folks that call you once you do the background, because we want to put just the lowest of the lowest risk people into our properties that are humble, sincere. They see this needle in a haystack opportunity and they want a mobile home and they're willing to fight for it. They're willing to, they want to buy it on payments. I can rent something for the next 5 or 10 years and then I own it. Now, there's a lot of people that are excited about that, but we have to do background checks. We have to do history checks. We have to do employment verification and call landlords and call references and look at pay stubs and do like a third-party background check and then maybe a park background check. And then you're listening to how people talk to you and when they show up on time and what they do and what they don't do and how they're talking to their family members and what their current home looks like. It sounds like a lot of work, right? It is a lot of work because you do the work on the front side and you won't have to deal with nearly as many problems when you have somebody in a home, because you're dealing with somebody that's an adult and wants to fight for the property. And if they can't pay, they'll talk to you about it. This business is kind of, there's enough turns and twists and surprises sometimes that we don't need a surprise, something that we did to ourselves. We sabotaged our business by putting in the wrong tenant buyer because we were excited, we were impatient, we just trusted somebody, and we were a little bit lazy. So I hope that if you watched that part, I probably said it before, but I hope that you heard that. I hope that made sense. And that's selling in late 2020. At the end of 2020, when it comes to management, a lot of people are wearing masks, and it's tougher to read faces. When you're talking to managers face to face, it is tougher to read faces sometimes. So I say smile more, with your eyes even, to smile. Let managers know that you're friendly. It's silly, but let managers know that you're friendly. Also push through on your script. I'll take this off now so you can hear me. If you have a script that you're introducing yourself, you should know what you want to say to a park manager when you go into the park manager's office, or anyone else that you're talking to, a park manager, a seller. If you're talking to somebody with a mask on, you can't always tell what their expression is if their eyes aren't moving that much. So keep pushing through with your script. Don't doubt yourself when you're in the middle of a script because you see kind of a monotone eye expression. Keep pushing through. That's my personal advice. And then winterization letter. If you are managing properties, if you're managing mobile homes, you should have some type of winterization letter. They can look all different, but it's going to tell the person inside of your home what to do now that winter's coming, how to protect your home, how to protect yourself. and just sort of what to be aware of. Having one in English and Spanish might be helpful. What I do, I use Cam Scanner. It's a, looks like that is the logo. And when you go ahead and open up Cam Scanner, you can take a single picture. And what it does, there might be other ways to do this, but it just basically takes a scan of the thing that you want to take a picture of, and then it cleans it up. The reason I like to use Cam Scanner is because it does clean up everything. The result that you get when you take a picture of just a regular piece of paper, it might not look that great, but when you use Cam Scanner, it's a free app. I'll link it down below. I believe it's for iPhones, Androids, and everything else. But once you can take a picture of this, then you have a clean picture of the photo of the picture that you just took. And this is mainly for like pieces of paper, things that you wrote down, things that you're going to scan, like pieces of paper. But you can scan the photo, and you can save it as as a picture. Then you can send this picture to all of your tenant buyers, all of your residents. The reason I like doing this is because this like winterization letter, it's something that almost everyone's getting in your area. If you're in kind of the same cold area, everyone should get it. And almost everyone reads a text message. People might not go to their emails that often, or they might not listen to your full voicemail message, but they will read a message like that, a text message, a picture of a letter that you're sending. And time is of the essence. When it gets cold, it only takes one frozen pipe to cause a lot of problems for your tenant buyer, to spill on into the home and to cause more problems. So I hope that this all made sense, from selling and buying and rehab and management. If you have any questions, concerns, never hesitate to reach out at support@mobilehomeinvesting.net. That's support@mobilehomeinvesting.net. You can also check out mobilehomeinvesting.net for a bunch of other free videos and helpful topics concerning investing in mobile homes and living in mobile homes. Thanks so much. If you have any questions or concerns, please comment below. If you have any extra tips or something I didn't mention or something that doesn't sound completely right, I'd love to hear from you below. Feel free to chime in. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you soon.